This is the Confidence Academy podcast. My name is Lilli and I am a transformational confidence coach, and I'm here with a message for you. The anxiety and overwhelm you've been experiencing is not something to be feared or avoided. It's also not something that gets to define who you are as a person. No matter who you are, no matter what your story is, I know that you get to live a life of fulfillment and joy. It's my absolute pleasure to bring this podcast series to you in collaboration with some phenomenal people from all over the world who have walked the same path as you. Together, we will share our stories, our challenges, and our triumphs with the intention of helping you to see that it's possible for you too. Anxiety may be something you live with, but it doesn't get to define who you are or how you live your life. So stand by for some powerful conversations, deep realizations, and the occasional F-bomb. So get those headphones in if you're around sensitive ears, and stand by. This is going to be fun. Oh, hey! Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. And this week I sat down with the incredible Ligia Costa, who is a journaling therapy coach and artist from Portugal. Now, if you've followed me for a while, you'll know that my journaling is a huge part of my life and one of the main ways that I'm able to not only manage my anxiety, but more importantly, reconnect to my own inner guidance and wisdom. Ligia shared some absolute gold in this episode, including how you can get started if you've never journaled before. Of course, almost immediately, the flow took over, and this actually turned out to be one powerful episode, so I really hope you enjoy it. I've included some links in the show notes below that will enable you to connect with Ligia further if you have any questions following this episode. And we would also love to continue the conversation with you over in the Facebook group, Wake Up, Rise Up. Click the link in the show notes to get involved. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing conversation. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. And I've stopped now saying which podcast you're listening to, because you'll know by now that you could be listening to the Waking Up to Purpose podcast, or you could be listening on the Confidence Academy podcast. Either way, we are here to blow your mind and make your life a little bit better. And today I have a beautiful lady to introduce you to called Ligia Costa. Ligia, welcome to my podcasts.
Hello. Well, I feel very excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on. So, Ligia, we've only connected in the last week or so? I think it was the last week or two, in a Facebook group, which is how this always comes about. And I just happened to read that you were a journaling therapy coach, which just intrigued me instantly. And you're also an artist. And so I thought it would be amazing to have you come on, because whether people are listening on the Confidence Academy or whether people are listening on the Waking Up to Purpose podcast, journaling is something that I've talked about a lot. It's a huge part of my life, and it's an enormous part of how I deal with my own anxiety. It's how I channel my inner guidance. It's how I connect with who I really am. You know, and aside from anything else, if I ever wake up feeling a little bit fraught, my journal is the first thing that I'll reach for. And the more that I've done it, the more tapped in and connected I have felt to myself. And it's funny because just before we went live, I was writing a little ebook that's going to be available soon, where I'm trying to I feel like I'm trying to bridge the gap between what people portray as being a spiritual life and spiritual awakening and how it really is. And I'm not saying this is the case for everyone. I'm sure some of those people that we see meditating on the side of mountains, and stroking their crystals, I'm sure that's real for them. It isn't real for me. My life is what I would call very, very real. And so a lot of the time I do wake up with, anxiety in my mind, and I feel worried about stuff. And journaling is my direct route to feeling better. So I'm so excited to have you on. And I would love you, first of all, I've done a small introduction, but I would love you to say in your words what it is that you do and how you help others, so that everyone can know what you do.
Lovely. Yes, of course. Well, my name is Ligia. I'm from Portugal. and I'm an artist and a journaling therapy coach. I combined the holistic approach of spirituality, mindfulness, and the journaling therapy side, which is more strategic, to guide women to identify their blocks, what are their triggers, childhood wounds, traumas that are keeping them stuck in overwhelm, anxiety, not knowing what they are doing, what is their purpose in life, and then find their path to their purpose. It's kind of a journey that goes from, past, present, and future, that helps heal and helps discover who you are and where you want to go.
So powerful. I love it. I'm covered in chills already.
Me too.
So for people who are listening, because there's going to be a whole mixture of people, I think, and anyone that's been listening for a while is probably going to be quite familiar with those terms that you just shared, the child trauma and, those inner blocks and those mindset blocks that can hold us back. But just in case there's anybody listening who is thinking, wait a minute, a block? What's a block? Just let people know what that is, because if you're listening to the Confidence Academy podcast, the chances are you're suffering from some kind of anxiety, stress, overwhelm, maybe depression. And blocks are, I think, intrinsically linked to that. It's the way that we are holding ourselves back, and most of the time we don't know. So just explain a little bit more about what those things are, first of all, and then how are people when they first come to you? Like, do people know that they have blocks, or is that something that you have to introduce them to?
So I would say anxiety and depression are results of blocks that we have. It's the way our body feels full of energy and especially fear, and is the way we cope by not coping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So blocks is everything and anything that we have. It might be limiting beliefs that were passed on, through parents, ancestor beliefs and things like that are keeping us now from achieving the best self the best things we can do. So many of those blocks are related to fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of disappointment, rejection. It's all of these are blocks. I would say many of the blocks that we have, it's all linked to fear. That's why we don't take risks. That's why we find all the excuses not to do the things that we want to do, because then our brain is going to pick up all those past memories and experience that we had, just to prove us, oh yes, don't go there because you've been there, you've had this experience and that was the result. And then because we feel quite overwhelmed or sad or disappointment, then it can become, turn into anxiety and depression. So I would say many of the people that come to me, they are aware that something isn't right, but they don't link it to, they might know they have blocks, but they never linked that to childhood or to actually fear that they are feeling at this very moment that are stopping them to take the risks and do other things outside their comfort zone. And many don't relate. I have many clients that have anxiety and depression. I tend to attract that too, because I've been battling mental health for over a decade. So I think people relate to that energy. I'm very open about it anyway. So I kind of attract people like that, and they don't realize until I start talking about it that is the result of their blocks and fears that they have. So yeah, it's a discovery that they do through journaling.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, the conversation about mental health has shifted over the last few years. And I think so many more people now are talking about their mental health issues, and there's so much more being spoken about, which is brilliant. But I still think there's very much a divide. And I know that I've felt this when I've been hanging out in, Facebook groups for people with anxiety, for example. There's an enormous proportion of people who believe that the anxiety is something that's physical and something that's medical, and therefore something that they can't overcome, something that can't be changed, and definitely something that they take on as their own identity. Yeah. And something that I learned for myself, and I would never want to make a blanket statement. I'm not a doctor, so I don't have that background, and I can only speak for myself. But it seems to me like, yes, that's true. I'm diagnosed with GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder. That's a diagnosis I have. It's something like an imbalance in my brain that means that I'm susceptible to go that way. But at the same time, when you think more expansively, and this is when we get into the woo side of things, when you think more expansively about who you are, why you're here, and what your journey looks like, then to me, it just seems like anxiety is a sign. It was a sign for me that I was out of alignment. I was living a life that was not the life I was supposed to be living, or in some way I wasn't owning who I was. And in some cases, and in some times it was that I wasn't physically doing something I should have been doing. And then at other times, it could hit me later today, for example, if I suddenly lost sight of who I am, or what I'm capable of, or why I'm here. And I think, it all comes together. And so, yes, there is that medical side, but, and so many people therefore go, oh, but it's a medical thing that I've got, so therefore I'm stuck with it. I can't change it. That just hasn't been my experience. And this is what I want more people to know. I'm not saying that you can throw away all your meds, pick up a journal, and everything's going to be rosy. But what I'm saying is, when you start to open up to the wisdom that's within you, and journaling is such a powerful way of doing that, you start to see things from another perspective. And I think I shared this recently, but there was in recent times, like in the last couple of months, when I was really struggling with all kinds of things. And I think the main thing being grief. I lost a very good friend of mine at the start of lockdown. So with everything else on top, I lost one of my best friends, and I started to experience what I thought first of all was anxiety. And then it was suggested to me that actually maybe it was depression. And then I kind of got through that and thought, you know what? I don't even think it's that. I just think it's grief. But I'd got to this point where I couldn't even function, and I had to get in my bed, and I put the covers over my head, and I was just crying. And I wasn't crying for a purpose in that moment. It felt very out of control. And in spite of everything I know, and everything I teach, and everything I've learned, and in spite of all of that, I was suffering on a very real human level. And I can remember being under the covers, and I'd rung my husband and said, you're going to have to come home from work, because I couldn't even be in the room with my kids. Like, I couldn't even just sit there. That's how low it was. And I rang my husband, and I got him home. And as I was lying there in my spiral, which is how it happens, isn't it? You just go in this absolute spiral of, overwhelming thoughts, like you said, those limiting beliefs. And I started to tell myself things like, you're not who you think you are. You don't really have these intuitive gifts. You're not actually that much use to anyone. I was really believing it in that moment. And then out of nowhere, this tiny, tiny, tiny voice just said to me, what would feel better than this? It was like, what would be better than this right now? And my immediate reaction was, it doesn't matter what would feel better. It's not true. Like, this is what's real. I can feel it. I'm hopeless. But just that little prompt was enough to save some of that spiral. And a tiny little part of me just started to go, well, all right, just for argument's sake, if I could choose better, what would it be? And of course, what would feel better would be to not think that I was this, depressed mess of a stressed person, and that maybe I did have these gifts that I thought I had, and that maybe I was useful. Like, that would feel better. And even though in that moment I couldn't believe that that was true, the process of going, what would feel better, started to pull me out of that feeling. And within a few days, I feel like I'd turned a corner. Crucially, I recognized that I needed space. And so I took myself off and I went to stay with my parents, and my husband was very supportive and was like, "Yep, you can go." All of that came from that tiny moment of respite, like that tiny moment of clarity. And the reason I got to that was through my years of connecting to that through journaling. So many times in my journal, I've written how I'm feeling and then what would be better. Like that was just one of many ways that I'd been taught to journal, and it feels pointless. It feels completely pointless when somebody says, "Oh, okay, well, that's how you're feeling. What would be better than this?" And you feel almost angry with it, because it's like, well, it's like, it doesn't matter what would feel better. This is what's real. So what's the point? But if you just let yourself do it, you open the door. It feels like opening up a treasure chest to all of these possibilities and all of this magic. And even if you can't believe it could be true in that moment, it doesn't matter. It works anyway. So I'd love to know your background. I would love to know how you got into journaling, because I know now you're actually a qualified journaling therapy coach, and I know that's a qualification you have. But how did you get into it? First of all, what's your story, and what was it that led you to first pick up a journal and write in it?
So I've been battling anxiety, chronic anxiety, since my childhood, but was not diagnosed back then. No one knew about it. So I remember in my teenage years, I always used to journal about how I felt, because I've come from an abusive childhood, bullying at school. I think that led to my anxiety. And at the time, bullying wasn't a thing. Like, I come from Portugal. Bullying is a very an English word. We didn't use anything like that. It was just the way school was. So I felt like the world was against me. I was not supposed to be in here in this earth. My parents didn't love me. My sister was better than me. Everyone was better than me. And I was a mistake. So I was really already very depressed and very anxious, but just didn't know. So I used writing as a way of escape from the reality that I was living, which was quite sad and messy. So I always journaled, and I always used to write poetry. I have thousands and thousands of poems written by me, very, very like personal and emotional, and some of them I still like, whoa, did I write this when I was 15? Oh my god. It was really, really powerful. So writing has always been part of the way I coped with my negative emotions back then. So then I moved to the UK when I was 17. I got married when I was 18. I didn't have any friends or family around. I got pregnant when I was 20, and then I had an ectopic pregnancy. So I went through a very dark, a few months until I got pregnant again, because I didn't understand why. Why would I have an ectopic pregnancy? I was young, I was healthy, it felt wrong. It felt so unfair. And I was alone. I just had my husband here. So I went through, again, a phase of depression. Then I had my first, and I was very, very overprotective of him. It was like, oh no, this is my miracle, my treasure. I wouldn't let anyone hold him. I was like, no way, it's my son. And again, the writing was coming to me because I felt that need to, because no one understood me apart from my husband. No one understood why I was so clingy of my own son, and I would not let anyone hold him, or no, it was, for me, it didn't make sense why I was that way. So again, writing came to me as a way of putting out there everything that I was feeling and making sense of it, trying to make sense of who I was becoming, and what I was feeling. And it just, I just follow that. I use journal on and off. After that, I got my second baby. I got postnatal depression after that. Again, I went through a very dark phase, and that's when I was diagnosed with chronic anxiety. So that was already over a decade ago. And I went to therapy and everything, but although I learn about CBT, mindfulness, and all of that, no one told me about journaling as to being a therapy.
Yeah.
Actually therapy for that. So I just carried on doing my thing, journaling on and off, writing my poems on and off, especially when I was feeling very, very negative. And then I went to, planning as well. It's been in my life since my academic years. And I started joining lots and lots of communities about planning and journaling. And that's when my business then, started, because I'm an artist, as I say. So I design planner stickers and stickers for journals, and lots of other stationery as well. And I kind of started to inspire people to use journals and to use planners to feel motivated. And then during lockdown, I realized I could bring coaching into my business. And that's when I got my diploma. So journaling, long story short, journaling has been through my life since I was young to help me. Until I realized that actually journaling therapy is a thing. And many therapists nowadays are using that to treat their patients. And that's what I do now. Yeah.
It's amazing. Do you know the thing that's really struck me as you were talking? You were sharing that even as a child, you were guided, to do your writing, to write that poetry. And this is what I really want to hone in on, because I think where a lot of people get lost with anything like this, whether it's journaling or if it's yoga, meditation, there's an entire plethora of ways that you can choose to, manage anxiety, overcome it, or any other mental health issue. I think where people come unstuck is when they maybe try to align with something that isn't intrinsically in them. If somebody absolutely hates writing, journaling isn't going to be the thing that works for them. And what I want to get to here is, it doesn't matter, because if writing isn't your thing, something else will be your thing. But if writing is your thing, this is going to be the thing that unlocks everything for you. So it's lovely, because your thing is writing. My thing was always singing. And again, as a child, I was always led to sing, and I would spend hours locked in my room. And it wasn't because anybody said, oh, you should sing to feel better, the same way that you didn't write because anyone told you writing would make you feel better. Because even though it does, it's the fact that it's what we're guided to. And what I would love people to take away from this, apart from everything else, is your soul already knows what it is that you need to feel better. And if writing is your thing, then you're listening to this episode for a reason. And we're going to put the links to Ligia's website and the things that she's got on offer for you, so that you can connect with her if you feel like you want to learn more about this. But what I don't want people to do is to listen and go, oh, but I hate writing, because I hear this a lot. I hear people going, oh, well, I hate to write. Cool, then don't write then. Don't do that thing.
Many people also say, oh, I hate writing, because they think that when you journal, you have to become this author that is not you. Right?
That was the other thing I wanted to say, exactly that. There's a lot of fear and a lot of misconception around what it actually means. It's the same with singing. People go, oh, but I can't sing in tune. It doesn't matter. If you love to do it, if any part of you even wishes you could, that's going to be the thing. It's going to be one of the things that works for you. So how do you combat that then? When somebody comes into you and, you know, they start working with you, they know that there's something is off, and then you bring out the journal and it's like, ta-da, this is what we're going to do. What are some of the most common things people say in resistance to the journaling, and then how do you help them get over those little blocks?
Well, I normally tend to attract people that already journaled or tried to journal before. But there are some people that normally say, oh, I gave up because I'm not sure I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And the thing I tell them, and I tell everyone, is there is no right or wrong way to journal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the journal, it's, first of all, the journal is for you. No one is going to read that, right? So seeking the right words, the perfect terms to express yourself is only the excuse you are bringing to not do it or not do it consistently.
Yeah.
There are many techniques to journal. For those that never did, I normally say just brain dump. Right? Just brain dump. Even if you don't know, some people come to me and say, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start. I try to journal and the words doesn't come to me. And that's very common. So what I normally tell them to do is, okay, just grab a pen, grab your journal, and start writing what comes to your mind. You might just start writing and say, okay, I'm seated in my desk in my bedroom. I'm feeling quite lonely. The kids are making noise downstairs, so I needed a timeout. Yeah. I'm feeling a bit this and that. So you start just kind of describing your surroundings. And before you notice, it starts to flow.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Because if you overthink, oh, I need to write, that's not a love letter. You're not saying like, dear darling, I'm writing you this. You can start letter writing is one of the techniques I teach journaling. But when you're starting and you don't know how to, go into all this extent that you have to be an author and write a novel in your journal, that's not going to happen. And again, you're just being personal. A journal is kind of an intimacy relationship with yourself. You're just being intimate with yourself. You get to know yourself, the true self, not the person you're portraying to be, because people expect you to be this way, and because you are a wife, and because you have this career, and because you are a mom, you are supposed to be in a certain way. No, the true self. And many people, and I know that you touch a lot about spirituality, which I'm also very spiritual. I'm clairvoyant as well. I get premonitions through dreams and signs that I get since I was young. And maybe that's why I connected with writing. It was in my soul purpose already, but I didn't know I followed that intuitive inspiration per se. But, I lost my train of thought. I got so excited about the spirituality. But yes, exactly. As you were saying, sometimes people have that spiritual side and they don't know because their families or their friends or the networking they are do not understand that. So they kind of hide it and reject that part of them. We all have intuitive and spirituality in us. Sometimes we reject that because, again, we are trying to portray to be someone. But in your journal, you can be so honest. You can be your true self and tell all of the secret and everything that you're feeling and experiencing with an honest approach. And again, being honest, and this was I tell my clients all of the time. First of all, do not ever judge yourself or the thoughts and experience you're having. Never judge that. Just acknowledge what you're feeling, acknowledge what you're experiencing, write it down, but do not judge it, because you're not a bad person just because you feel in certain things. Second of all, be kind to yourself. Be kind to you. You're feeling those things. Nurture yourself as you would nurture your own children. Be kind. And third, be honest. Again, when you're trying to find the right words and be perfect on your writing and having that fear, if my husband find my journal, he might read it, you're going to hold yourself back. And that's not going to do any good to you, because the purpose of journaling is healing.
Yeah.
The way to heal is for you to be honest.
Absolutely. What would you say to somebody, and I mentioned this earlier, I know when I've suggested journaling to some of my clients, quite often what comes up, because unlike you, a lot of people that work with me are maybe not tapped in that way. People come to me because they want to learn how to sing. They don't know that they're coming to be spiritually evolved. And so they often end up going down that path. And then I might suggest journaling to them. And something that is quite common with the people that I speak to is they're afraid to see what's in their mind. Like, they don't want to pour it out. They're afraid to tap into that emotion. They don't know what it looks like on the other side of it. I think often they don't know what they're going to do with the information once it's out there. And having said, just previously, and I said, if writing isn't for you, then, there's another way. There absolutely is. But at the same time, I can recognize when people are just in resistance to it. And quite often I'll say to somebody, oh, you should try journaling, and I'll give them the prompts, and then they'll come back and I'll say, did you do it? And they'll be like, no, I don't really feel like it's for me. I don't really want to do it. Da, da, da. And it's like, yeah, it's not because writing isn't your thing. It's because there's resistance there. There's fear. So what would you say to someone that's feeling fearful of even digging into that? How would you help somebody overcome that fear so that they could get to the goodies?
Well, I never force anyone doing the, journaling, because I understand that some people don't like it. I'm very glad that my clients, when they come to me, they're already open for it. And they must, even if they never did journal before, but they are open to trying that.
Right, yeah.
And it's just holding their hand and, get them accountable to try that. I know that fear, it's one thing. So maybe what I do is talk about fear. They might not realize that they are being fearful. That's why they're getting resistance. And why are they fearful? That's another way of starting the journey of journaling. What are you fear of discovering about yourself?
Yeah.
What do you think is holding you back? If you knew that, you have resistance about something in your life, what does it make you feel? Things like that, so they can really tap into the first experience. If they have with journal, they can tap a little deep, not too deep into the uncovering things that they might be fearful of discovering, but trying to understand why they might be fearful, trying to link their resistance with that fear that they might not realizing they have. When I was taking my diploma, one thing that they teach is, the first thing that we should say to a person that is starting journaling is to buy a journal, right? But it has to be a journal that speaks to them, a journal that they feel excited to open, to come back to.
Yeah.
And there are many people that have resistance to that. They come to us and say, oh yeah, I haven't bought yet because I couldn't find the right journal. So they are waiting. That's the resistance. They are waiting for the perfect journal to appear so they can buy and then start doing their journaling. This is all excuses that the brain is giving them not to take the leap. And that comes from fear.
Yeah.
So it's tapping into that fear and resistance link that they might not yet understood, and then giving them this few new prompts that will tap into that and give them a bit of an insight a light bulb moment, like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that, maybe this will work. And then they will feel curious about discovering and taking all the layers, because that's what journaling does. It's like you are a snake and you're shedding all that old skin until you are this pure new skin person. It takes a while. I'm not gonna say you're gonna do it like 2 times or 3 and it's all sorted. And it has to be consistent. It has to be something that you do regularly, making it into a practice. I'm not going to say like me, maybe too much like I do it every day. But at least once a week you take that half an hour for you, and you do it.
I would love to know what you, obviously you don't need to go into details, but I would love to know, as someone who journals every single day, what is it that you typically journal about? Because I know for me, it's really evolved over time. And when I first got started, and I think I was like you, I remember having vivid dreams as a teenager and writing them down and not really knowing why I was writing them down, but I wrote them down. And those dreams I can recall even now because I'd written them out and I used to read them back. So I think we're really similar. And this is what we found in that group, wasn't it? We were like, oh my God, we're the same. So I know for me, it started out as almost an intuitive thing. And I was just doing it because I don't even know why, I just did it. And then in later years, when I came back to journaling, I was on a quest to find other ways to manage my anxiety that wasn't meds, because for me, the meds I just didn't like it. And so when I came back to it initially, my journaling was always very much based on how I was feeling that day. So I would open my journal and it would just, like you said, I didn't really ever know how to start. So I would just start with going, okay, well, here's how I'm feeling. Sometimes I would even write the sentence, I don't even know what I'm going to write. And then I would let it go from there. What I found has evolved over time now is I'm still journaling my feelings, but I very quickly sink into that spiritual connection. And it very quickly goes into what I call automatic writing, where I will read it back. Like I now have a VA who takes what I write and puts it on Instagram for me, because making posts on social media makes my soul want to die. So I pay someone to do that for me. And it's really funny because there's a bit of a lag, because obviously I do the download content and then, a few days later she'll put it out. I will often read those posts and be like, I do not remember writing that. Like, I don't even know where that came from. So I would love to know what your journaling looks like now on a daily basis. Do you have a set process, or do you literally just spill out whatever's in your head? Let us know what that is for you.
Well, I tend to journal before I go to bed. So to make it a routine to me, and I know that if I go to bed, I have to write. So I normally tend to write about how my day was. So what I felt, what I did, memories I have that I might recall from my children. It's not a diary entry, it's a journal, because it taps into the feelings. And then once a week, I do something different. I have many journals, many journals, fiction. So I have a journal that I use just for my spirituality. So anytime I'm doing a meditation, that I normally do every day as well, but sometimes you do this kind of meditation and you download information. And then I have dreams or signs that show up that goes into the same downloads I got from the meditation. Or I do my oracle reading and the message is the same. So when I get the message 2-3 times, I'm like, okay, there's something here for me to acknowledge. So I write about that. I have a journal just for my dreams, where I recall everything from my dreams, and then I write the dream, and then I see all of the kind of keywords there, and I do the meaning for all the keywords, and then I put the message together.
Wow. Yeah.
I get so many messages from my higher self, my guides, through my dreams since I was young, but I was never like, I would write it, and I would go into like magazines. There was no Google at the time, so I would go to these astrologic magazines and see what was the meaning. Maybe like if you think about like if I dreamt about teeth falling down, or a baby or anything like that, I would go and look, okay, dreaming about a baby, what does it mean? But I would just go with that one thing. And the thing that I realized later is the dream, it's a story. It's kind of a story. So looking just for the meaning of one aspect of the dream is not realistic. So what I do is I write everything down as I remember. If I'm dreaming that I'm in the kitchen, if I see a kitchen table, the kitchen table is there. What are the people, the number of people, numbers, words, scents, everything that I remember, I put it there. And then I look into any aspect that pops to me, and I search the meaning, and then I put the message together, and everything comes true.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And so that's how I relate with my spirituality. So I have one journal just for my dreams. I have a journal where I write every day, about how I'm feeling. And then I have an art journal where I combine art, like I might do collage, I might do decoupage, I might do painting, and then I write things there as well. So I kind of have sections per se. I have journals for different sections, and I do it regularly. And that inspires my creativity. That my intuition is much more sharp because I do it regularly, and I can connect with so many things, synchronicities that, it's just amazing. And I told you that the fact that we met, it was absolutely a synchronicity there.
Yeah, 100%. And, the fact that you're talking about the dreams, I literally, I think it was either earlier this week or last week, was having actually for the last couple of weeks, I've been having vivid dreams, and my dreams are ridiculous. Ask my husband, because I'll say to him, I had a dream last night. He's like, I don't even want to know. You're so weird. It's so because he never understands. My dreams are literally next level. It was even worse when I was pregnant, honestly. And it was literally only this week, maybe the end of last week. And I just had this nudge that I needed to pay more attention to the dreams I was having, because it was starting to be every single night. It would normally be once in every while I would have a big humdinger of a dream, but this was every single night. And so I was like, you need to look into what these dreams are telling you something.
Might be different, but the message will be the same for all of the dreams, because if you have that with frequency, from my experience, your spiritual guide trying to tell you something really important and you're not paying attention.
100%. And I've literally started writing them out, only for the last few nights. But what I haven't done is what you said about then going and finding the key points and putting the message together. So I'm absolutely going to do that as soon as we get off this call. And the other thing that blows my mind, and then at the same time, it's well, of course, because this is how it all works. I'm in a group of spiritual people. We're called the Woo Woo Crew. And I went in there and was like, does anybody have any guidance for dreams? How can I look into this? And I did get sent a couple of things, and I bought somebody's book. But, the fact that I was wanting to know more about what to do with that, and then you just appear, and of course here you're on my podcast, and we were going to talk about journaling, and of course it's gone on to dreams. I just love it. And
synchronicities. We didn't talk about dreams in our messages. I never
once told you this, and you're not in that group that I just mentioned. So I just covered in goosebumps. They're even on my eyeballs. I just can't even deal with how amazing this is. And like I said, this is probably going to go on both. It's 100% going to go on both podcasts, because we've gone in all the directions. But for anyone listening who is maybe new to all of this and just going, what the hell is going on? Like, I can't even tell you the energy shift I feel when I tap into this stuff. And I can be the most anxious person, right? I literally have that tendency. And yet every single time, this connection is what saves me. And you know, I will pick up my journal, and often, and this is something again that's evolved over time, I don't know that I was ever taught to do it this way, or if it just came about, I can't remember, but quite often now I will write down how I'm feeling as a human, and immediately I get a shifted perspective or like an answer. And it will be like, and you know, my higher self is one sarcastic wench, let me tell you, because I'll be like, oh, I feel like this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, is that true though? And I'm like, well, no, I suppose it's not true. And they're like, right, okay, so what's true? And it like literally is like a bitch slap back to truth. It's like, stop sitting in that pity party. Like, you know, okay, you know, we're human beings. We feel anxious. This pandemic has got everyone in fear. You know, everyone's worried about what's going to happen. To me, this connection makes me feel excited, because it makes me feel like this isn't all there is. And even though the pandemic is an enormous thing, and even though there's some very real hardship going on at the moment, you know, and for me as well, it's not like I'm over here floating on a cloud of unicorn dust and sparkles. Like, life can be really hard, but what shifts me out of that fear quicker than anything else are these synchronicities, and it is that connection. And you know, the more I've done it, the less I'm afraid of it, and the more intrigued I am.
Yes,
and the more I just, you know, and like you said about connecting to a journal that you want to go and pick up, I have the same addiction as you. I was literally in a shop yesterday buying a journal for my son. Now my son is only 8, but he's suffering a lot at the moment for a variety of reasons. And his school actually gave him a special book that's red, because he loves red. And they were like, this is your book. And every time you're worried, sad, stressed, anxious, anything, you can write it in this book and nobody's going to read it. It's just for you. And I then said, because he really struggled yesterday. It was day 1 of our half term. They think we're currently looking into whether he might be autistic. So he really struggles with any changes in like structure, you know, and stuff like that. And I am the least structured person in the world, so which is a shame for him, because then he's like, Mum, what are we doing? I'm like, I don't know. So I said, oh, we're going to get you this book. And I got him this beautiful book so that he could write his thoughts and his feelings. And I love that you made the distinction as well between the journal and the diary, because he said to me, I don't want to do that. That's writing a diary. And I said, it isn't writing a diary. No. It's writing how you feel. And it's for you. Nobody's going to read this. But I was in that shop yesterday, and of course I saw about 20 journals I wanted for myself, and I had to just walk myself away, because I'm already in. I think I've got 3 on the go at the moment. In fact, I've got 2 to hand. I can actually see right now. Oh, and this is the one I bought for him. Look how beautiful. You guys can't see this, but I'm showing it anyway.
It's really beautiful.
It's the most beautiful journal. Yeah, he loved it. Like, and he said it's just like a book. It's hard as well. And he said it ticked the boxes because it feels soft. It's got a really soft exterior. It's got like a little magnetic strip, so it feels a little bit private. Yeah. He liked the solid lines in it, was important for him, and the fact it was red was a winner as well. So, and that's the point. That's what you said, and I just love that at the age of 8 he's learning to do this with intention. And he's not always going to do it. And this is the thing, like, I think people get in their heads about, you know, you said way back at the beginning that there's no right or wrong way. I think people get in their heads and they often feel bad because they'll go, oh, I haven't journaled. But that's all right. Like, it's your journal. I don't journal every single day, but I do journal every single time I feel led to do it. And to me, that's the right thing to do, you know, and that means sometimes it is daily and sometimes it's not. But, you know, what I find has evolved from this is, whereas before I would sit down with the journal and there would be a moment of sitting there and going, oh, what am I going to write? And then it would be a bit clunky and I'd be like, oh, I feel sad, you know, and then it would come. What happens now is those downloads come before I've even gone near a journal. I'll wake up in the morning and it's like, I have to pour this out of me. And sometimes it's healing, sometimes it's an answer that I personally need. A lot of the time I feel like it's a channeled message that I'm supposed to share with the world, and that's something that I'm learning to step into more. But my whole point is, at no point did it feel perfectly structured. At no point was it pretty. It's always been a little bit haphazard, a bit messy, very clunky. In fact, there was one day not that long ago when I was really low, and I went to this place that I love to go because it's got a gorgeous view. And I opened my journal, and all I could write were the words, I wish, ... And I couldn't write anything else. I just burst into tears. But do you know what? I needed that cry. I'd got to the point of anxiety because all of that had been stuck up inside of me. And just writing I wish was enough to tip me into letting those emotions flow. So it doesn't matter what you write in your journal. Other times I'll write pages and pages and pages. I'll do hours of journaling. And that day it was literally a minute. There is no right or wrong. It's always perfect. And I think if you can hold that intention and belief that what you're doing is always the perfect thing, then, and that might just sound like an excuse to just do it however, but if that is what it is, that's what it is. But I have that intention and that knowledge that if all I was meant to write that day was I wish, that's exactly how it was meant to be. It's perfect. And I'm grateful for it.
All this purpose. The purpose was
exactly.
for you to release the emotions that
exactly.
were stuck inside. So yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's such a powerful, powerful thing. And I've absolutely loved speaking to you. I feel like there's so much more we could have dug into. Just to wrap us up, first of all, how can people find you? If they want to find out more about how you work and follow you, then how can they connect? What's the best way?
So I'm on Instagram, and I have my Facebook page, and I have a Facebook group where I dig more deep into journaling and all the strategies, because I have the same, it's one business but has two branches, or that are two branches from the same tree. So I have the product base, which is all the stickers and everything else, and then the coaching that it's evolving now. It's started throughout lockdown and it's evolving now. And then I have my first course coming out as well, that is really to unlock your purpose through journaling and
amazing
all the healing, and that is going to allow you to unlock your true purpose, your soul's purpose in your life.
I love it. Oh, I love it. And do you know what? I'm literally going to throw you on the spot right now. We haven't discussed this at all because it's literally just landed. But I just launched my monthly membership club called Evolution Online, which is predominantly helping people to use singing as a way to unlock, get to the emotions that they're not able to release, but also to connect to their purpose and all of those wonderful things. I would absolutely love it and be so honored if you would come in and teach maybe a masterclass for my members. We can talk about the ins and outs and if you're up for it, but I just think to have that little tool as an add-on to everything that I'm bringing in the membership anyway would be incredible. And obviously we can link to then your course, and if they want to dig deeper then they can. But I'm just going to throw that your way and see what you think about that.
I feel honored you invited me, of course.
I just love your energy. I feel like what you bring is it's everything I've done exploded and embellished, because you actually understand like what it is you would do and why. Whereas, I've learned to do it and it's great. It would be amazing for you to teach them, the whys and how to get started and the actual steps that they would need to take. So that would be amazing. And anyone who's listening, I know some of you are already in the membership, but if you're not already in it, it's super cheap right now. I've got a founding members rate of just £20 a month for the first 100. So I'll put a link to that. We will also link to all of your Instagram, to your Facebook, and to your program. What's your program called?
Unlock Your Purpose.
I love it. So it does what it says on the tin. It's perfect.
Yeah, it came in a dream.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love it. And so if you guys want to check that out, we'll put the links in the show notes, and then you guys can do that too. Also, if you're in the Facebook group, Wake Up, Rise Up, which is my Facebook group, or even if you're not in it, you can click the link for that as well. We will continue the conversation over in there. So, Ligia, if you're happy, I could send you the link for that and get you in there. And then if people want to ask you questions, they can tag you. I'm so excited. I just love this. It's been so long since I did podcast interviews. Because over lockdown, I mean, I tried to do one. And if you guys are listening, you'll have heard the interview that came out a couple of weeks ago. It was utter carnage. It was an amazing interview, but I had all 3 children here. It was in the height of summer. A whole water fight ensued, and it was just absolute chaos. So after that, I was like, well, I'm not going to do any live interviews while I've got all these kids here. So I'm so excited to be doing it again. I'm so excited to have you on. It's just been the most amazing, uplifting experience. And I hope that anyone listening has felt that energy as well. We would love to hear what you think. So like I said, get into the Facebook group or send us a message. Let us know any questions that you've got after this episode. Let us know what came through for you. Have you felt guided to pick up a journal? Are you one of those people that thought it was scary and now you feel like you're going to do it? We want to know. So get in touch and tell us. Because I feel lonely. I was thinking about this in the middle of the night when I woke up for some unknown reason. And I was thinking, I know there are so many people that download this podcast. There's over 110,000 people that have downloaded this podcast now. Not to terrify you or anything, but there's a lot of people that listen to this. But you guys, like, I would love you to talk to me more. I just feel like it would be so lovely to hear what you guys get from these episodes and to, ask your questions. There's no silly questions. There's nothing that can be left untouched. So do get in touch. Tell us what came through, ask your questions, and we'll continue the conversation over there for you as well. Oh my goodness. Final word, Ligia. Is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with? Any final words of wisdom?
Final word of wisdom. Regarding what specifically? Spirituality,
I would say
journaling?
I would say anyone who's been feeling low in confidence or struggling with their anxiety, especially with the times that we're in, what do you want those people to know? The people that are maybe feeling that, that there isn't any help for them or any hope for them, what would you love those people to know?
Well, what I always say to inspire people because of my own story is you are the change. You have the choice. Having anxiety, having depression, other kind of mental health doesn't determine your future and the person that you are. Is not your identity at all. So you have the power to change that. Yes,
absolutely. Amen. Couldn't agree more. And I think, in the time that we're in, where so many people are feeling let down by their government, they're feeling let down by their leaders, let down by the people they followed, like even people online, a lot of thought leaders online have pivoted and people are feeling let down by that. It's the perfect lesson for you that ultimately, the change does come from you. Like you just said, yes, we get to be supported. Yes, we get to ask for help when we need it. But ultimately, that shift is going to come because you did it. It's going to come because you can do it. And there is not one thing that you're given in this life that you cannot overcome and that you cannot come through. So we're here for you. The entire community of this podcast is here for you. You're not on your own, and it really isn't hopeless. So like I said, reach out. Let's help each other. Thank you so much for being my guest. It's been amazing.
I loved it.
It's been incredible. We'll put all the links in the show notes, as I said. And to everybody listening, remember, confidence is yours as soon as you choose it. I'm going to be back really soon with another episode for you. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, week, month, wherever you are in the world. And I'll be back again soon. Lots of love. Wow, wow, wow. Is it just me, or was the energy absolutely off the chain during that interview? My deep gratitude and thanks to Ligia for giving us so much in this conversation. I hope it shifted you in all the best ways. And as I've already said, we would love to hear your comments over in the Facebook group, Wake Up, Rise Up. And you heard me mention Evolution Online, which is my brand new membership club, and you can register right now. I wanted to create an online community to replicate the amazing energy that I've always had in my physical groups. And I also wanted to show more people how music and singing can facilitate spiritual awakening, as well as aid in reducing stress and anxiety. You can get in right now at the founding members rate of just £20 per month, so hit the link in the show notes to join us. There's already so much amazing content waiting for you over in the members area, and so much more to come, so get involved. And also, just before I go, you might remember right at the top of the interview, I talked about possibly writing an ebook. Well, I wrote it, and you can get your free copy right now by clicking the link, say it with me, in the show notes. So go ahead, click the link. I'd love to hear what you think about the book. I had so much fun writing it, and I really hope you have tons of fun reading it as well. So that is all for now. As I said, go ahead, click the links in the show notes. I've also included links to Ligia's work directly, so if you want to find out more about her work as a journaling therapy coach, then you can just connect with her through the links that we've put there in the show notes. And that's it. Have a wonderful week, you guys. I'm going to be back again really soon with more amazing guests for you. But in the meantime, look after yourselves, and remember, confidence is yours as soon as you choose it. Love you, bye.